Happy Canada Day, everyone. 159 years young. The country still celebrating its team continuing its journey in the World Cup. 3 more days before they're in action. But there were some other celebrations that were also going on in Toronto. Many Portuguese fans hoping to catch a glimpse of Cristiano Ronaldo. Gareth Wheeler is ready for Canada Day. Michael Finley, former national team assistant coach. Andy Petrillo here as you are watching Bet365 for the win. A beautiful home for the beautiful game. Ollie Platt, by the way, speaking of Portugal, Croatia, we know that's a big match tomorrow. He took in practice. We'll hear from Oliver Platt in a bit on the show. Christian Jack is also going to stop by shortly. But it's great to have the two of you along. Hopefully you enjoyed some celebrations, maybe cake on behalf of Canada Day. Anybody? Anybody cake? I like cake.
Just my birthday yesterday, Andy. Birthday cake aplenty. I'm packing on the LBs. I'm ready to go for this episode.
You know what? Happy belated as well, my friend. Let's take a look. Michael, I'm going to start with you because Canada, as we know, after the round of 16, getting set to take on Morocco, and they've done what we've expected them to do so far. So now this is a real big one here, taking on a juggernaut of a team. Morocco is definitely the favorite. And I'm wondering if you actually see this, Canada taking on ranked number 6 Morocco as a defining moment for Jesse Marsch and this team to get a result. Could this be their moment at the World Cup?
Yeah, it certainly could be. When you say defining, it certainly is a defining moment given the fact if they don't win, they're going home. So there's no more defining this match than that. But in terms of Jesse, I don't see this as necessarily a defining moment for him as the coach of Canada. What I do think, though, this is a defining moment for what his tactical flexibility and adaptation is. Is he going to be able to show some sort of flexibility in how his team plays and how the DNA is exposed to the opposition? I don't see him changing much, but it will be interesting to see if he's able to change things to the point where people now see this plan B, or how do you deal with an opponent that is obviously the best opponent that Canada has seen so far. So in terms of defining, I'm thinking more of is it a defining moment in terms of how he's going to apply his methodology and tactics tomorrow, on Saturday.
Yeah. And that would suggest to me that you're not quite sure if Canada can play the Jesse Marsch style and be successful against a team like Morocco, which I think is a fair comment. As far as Jesse Marsch is concerned, absolutely, yes. This is a defining moment, the defining moment for him as Canada head coach. Look, there's been a number of successes. Marsch has done some really good things. That's undeniable. I think the vast majority of Canadians really love the manager as well. But just going through the track record and what this team has been through and where they're at right now, I'm not sure if he has had a defining win or a defining moment. This team had 2 chances to win trophies in competitions that mattered amidst a ton of friendlies heading into this World Cup. What happened? They lost in both the Nations League and the Gold Cup and didn't even make it to the final in any one of those competitions. When we look back on all the results that they've achieved over the course of Jesse Marsch's tenure with Canada, what is that defining win? I'll open the floor to you or anyone else out there. What is the defining win? And I would have to say there hasn't been one. Beating the U.S. in a friendly, they're a top 20 team, but it was a friendly. It was a very different U.S. team than we're seeing today. When we look back at Copa America, they played a lot of teams very competitively. Was it beating Venezuela in the quarterfinals in penalties? Maybe, but Venezuela is not at the World Cup. They're barely a top 50 team. Was it last summer in a friendly against Romania or Wales? Again, 2 other teams not at the World Cup, 2 teams who were lower in the rankings, and 2 teams who also had World Cup qualifying games that very same window. So the Canada game was time to experiment and rotate. Go through the list. There's been some hard-fought draws under Jesse Marsch, but there hasn't been a defining win. This is a chance to step up in competition. Thus far at this World Cup, I'm fine if Jesse Marsch calls the team heroes. I'm fine to celebrate that Canada's in the final 16. It's great. It's an incredible achievement for this country. But let's be honest about who Canada has played and what they've done. They've had the easiest schedule in World Cup history to get to this point of the competition, and they've met expectations. They haven't exceeded them. They beat teams that they should beat, and they've earned their way to this spot. Now is the time to see what this team is all about and whether they're able to rise to the moment with Jesse Marsch as manager of this group.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with the fact that previous results, Wheels, because I don't look at friendlies as being anything defining in international football. It's part of the process. It's part of the opportunity for coaches to get a good idea of exactly what their program and what their playing staff looks like, where their gaps are, what they have in their back pocket. What I see here is I see a process unfolding here. There's no doubt that this is obviously the best team that Canada has played in terms of obviously at this World Cup, but you look at over a period of time, you're looking at the semifinalists in Qatar, you're looking at finalists in the African Nations Cup. You're looking at a team that is considered to be top 10, if not top 5 now in FIFA rankings, and by performance, I would say that's a good ranking for them. Does this put him in a position where if they're not successful, the world decides that Jesse is not the man for this program? I highly doubt that at this moment in time. I think right now, having got themselves into the 32 and playing against this team, he's probably going to get a bit of a pass, to be quite honest with you. But what I do like what you're saying is this is exactly where Canada and the football program needs to be. There needs to be pressure put on not just our staffs, but on our players in these scenarios, because that's what's then going to show who we really are when it comes to this type of competition.
The goal all along has been for Canada to play in games like this and be competitive. I think part of the reason why the country started to really get behind this team, because in Copa America, they were able to play teams like Argentina competitively. So where are they right now? Like, I don't think they necessarily have to go out and win this game, but they surely need to compete. If not, I understand that a lot of people like the way that Jesse Marsch defends the players, defends the country, the things that he has to say. Even though the rest of the world might not love what he has to say and some of the actions at times, Canadians generally do. And I completely understand that. But this is where you test yourself. We've heard over the course of this 2-year process that Canada wants to be in a place where they can compete against the world's best. I'm honestly sick and tired of hearing about them being 122nd in the world. That was like ancient history. We live in the present. We don't live in the past. And we understand that this group is the best group of players that Canada has. So I'm sorry that this game is not a free hit. The expectation as an underdog isn't necessarily for this team to go and win, even though we've seen Paraguay go and beat Germany and some teams play up a level against better teams in this tournament. But at the very least, they have to go out and compete and show that they belong, because thus far beating the 54th, the 59th, and the 60, well, drawing the 61st ranked team in the world, that's standard fare. That's what we should expect at that point, at this point, especially at a home World Cup.
Sorry, Andy, just one thing. What's interesting, what you just said there is really important, because international football, and specifically World Cup football, Gold Cup, regional tournaments like this, the one thing that's very consistent in international football, and I learned this very early in my career as an international coach, is before you talk about formations and before you talk about tactics and before you talk about anything, even your opponent, you have to establish the right to fight. And if you look at the teams that have competed when I think the public didn't think they'd be able to compete. I'm using the DR Congos of the world here. I'm using the Paraguays of the world here. I'm using the Cape Verdes of the world here. The one thing that was consistent was the fight, right? Individually, as a group. If they don't bring that component to Saturday's game, it's going to be a long day. And because this team is something special, in my opinion, in Morocco, and we have to be aware of that. But 100%, let's show that we have that type of competitiveness, that type of fight to establish a beachhead that then we can build from.
I think Canadian fans, despite being satisfied with what the Canadian team has done here, will expect that fight. And I find that's the fork in the road. In a country where a sport is still growing, you're achieving a lot of firsts. So a lot of people are happy. But if you are going to test yourself, if you are going to take it to the next level and truly call yourself a football nation, then you should never be satisfied with not going out and winning absolutely everything that you can. So that's where things are. The Canadians did have the day off yesterday. They were back in action today. Christian Jack taking in all the action.
Happy Canada Day from Houston, Texas, as the Canadians trained this morning here ahead of their big last 16 clash against Morocco in Houston on Saturday. It is actually the first time ever in this tournament's history that we've reached this special day in Canada, Canada Day, and Canada are still in the World Cup. This morning at training, before training actually, we got to speak to their head coach, Jesse Marsch, and midfielder, Nathan Saliba. And we asked him about what it's like to be representing this country on Canada Day, and Jesse Marsch also spoke about his pride for this team.
I think we just represent the country and the people living there very well, you know. We're all very honest people, we're all kind people, we're all, you know, we have an excellent group dynamic. We don't like having our kindness being taken for granted though, so this is something I think you can see on the way we play. We're nice but not too nice, and yeah, I think we're ready to you know, start competing with big teams, and we want to have our name up there. So yeah, this is what Canadian and Canada is.
I think there's a lot to be proud of. You know, I think that there's a lot of work that's been put in to the sport at many different levels, and to see it now start to pay off is really important. And I've said this from the beginning, like, to have the best team we've ever had for a home World Cup, the timing couldn't be better. And you got to give the team credit, because we came in many ways into the World Cup hobbling with 8 to 9 guys coming off of injury into the World Cup. And then we picked up 3 more injuries as time has gone on. So it would have been easy for our team to make excuses and say, yeah, we're not at our best and we're missing our best players and blah, blah, blah. But nobody has stopped. The relentless pursuit of greatness has been really strong with this team, and it says so much about them and their character, you know, and obviously now we have a chance to continue to push the overall idea of what greatness is.
It was also the first time we got to speak to Marsch after he returned to Houston following his travels to Monterrey, where he was in attendance for the last 32 match between Morocco and, of course, the Netherlands. He went on to tell us off camera that obviously it felt like a bit of a nightmare scouting Morocco, a team he doesn't really want to watch because how well they are. They are clearly, that being Canada, playing up this role of severe underdogs. Here's Marsch on what Morocco do well, and obviously the heat, which is a big factor down here, and whether that can be a part of their advantage with the extra time off heading into Saturday's clash.
I got down there, and then, you know, when I got off the plane, you could feel the heat almost like here. So not easy to manage the game for either team, but what you saw in Morocco was a team with a lot of self-belief, right? Like a lot of players on the pitch that believe in themselves, that have high quality. The team's been in a good way. Obviously, they won the African Nations Cup, and of course how that all went. But you see a team that has confidence and has a lot of quality. We're fit, you know. And if you look at our run data from our games, we've covered a lot of ground, and I think we've managed games. We've outrun every opponent. So we know we're fit. Now it's more managing, especially with the heat, managing loading so that we don't overtrain them. And especially knowing that Morocco put in 120 minutes, we have to say to ourselves, like, one of the advantages that we can have is, can we be fresher and fitter and everything else? So with everything that Morocco will present us, that'll be something that we still try to do, is push them again to their limit.
That's the story around Morocco, and of course the fitness levels and the heat. That's going to be a big story down here in Houston. By the way, it is a climate-controlled stadium, home of the NFL Houston Texans on Saturday, so shouldn't be an issue during the game. But what about Canada? It's an ongoing story down here amongst many of us, discussing about, will there be any significant changes to the way that they play, their approach, so to speak. Whenever we bring this up to Jesse Marsch, it is a bit of a sore subject. As you'll hear in his answer, you can see why shortly. But I asked both midfielder Nathan Saliba and Jesse Marsch about their approach heading into this game and whether there'll be any kind of changes.
Maybe some tactical adjustments, you know, to, like you need to do against every other team. And then yeah, it's just we're gonna have to, you know, play our game. And not be intimidated or anything, and just, be ready to play like we want to play, and, as always, be on the front foot, be the aggressor. And I think this is our game plan, and we're going to stick to it.
It's not, look, we won't change our identity, but you use tactical nuances to think about how to manage each opponent. So that's, anyone who watches us, people love to say we always play a 4-2-2-2. Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes we play 4-3-3 when we press. Sometimes we play 4-2-3-1 or asymmetric in certain ways. With the ball, sometimes we build with 3 in the back. Sometimes we build with 4. So it's silly for people to try to put us in a box in one way or another, or it's foolish because they're not really watching what we're doing. We're always using the principles that we've built into the team and then using tactics to think about how to manipulate what we want a match plan to look like so we can get the best out of our team and try to manipulate the opponent. So we will do the same again this time.
So there you have it, silly and foolish, and putting them in a box. I don't think Jesse Marsch quite understood the level of questioning that some of us had for him today around that kind of style. We all know what it means about tactics and static. Obviously, formations don't exist. We don't expect to ever talk about Canada being a 4-4-2, in possession, out of possession throughout that either. So I think it's a fair question. Are they going to go a little bit deeper? Nathan Sliber said not, would be more aggressive. Something else that's a little foolish, we had 3 full days here now since Canada's greatest ever win in the history of this program in the men's game, and we've had 1 player speak on camera in 3 full days. So anyone being put in a box, it's the media. It's not really about me, it's more about everybody else here as well. Some fantastic journalists internationally here to cover this team, and so far we've had very little to do. Just talking to 1 player in 3 days doesn't really seem sufficient enough for me, but that's my point, an argument about this as well. Canada have never needed more stories around their players. It is Free Agent Frenzy Day in Canada, a massive moment within the NHL, and of course NBA free agency as well. A lot of reasons to talk about other sports. We're doing our best here to continue to make Canada's soccer the one sport that everybody else is talking about during a World Cup. We'll continue as we move forward to Thursday, 2 days out from Canada's massive clash against Morocco in the last 16.
All right, thank you, KJ. Yes, free agent frenzy. For a second there, I was getting the 2 sports confused, and I thought the Toronto Maple Leafs signed Harry Kane as their new center. All right, here's the thing. The Netherlands still can't believe that they are out for the first time ever, that they've been in a World Cup not making the round of 16. So this is what Frankie de Jong had to say. I feel empty inside. We played bad. We played with a numerical disadvantage in midfield. It was really difficult with only 2 midfielders. I'm disappointed, but that was the coach's plan, and we did our best to follow it. They had more possession of the ball. I'm not sure if you want to comment on that, Wheels, because there was frustration there at the tactics that his manager used, but also the question is how do you think Canada then should approach Morocco?
Forget Frankie goes to Hollywood. Frankie goes behind the wheel and drives right over his former national team manager and Ronald Koeman. I mean, it's a significant indictment of the manager, isn't it? But that had to be the sentiment when you were watching the game for the first time in the tournament. The Netherlands changed the way that they played to playing with 5 at the back, and they sat back deep with a collection of superstars, legit superstars in the game of football. And that's what I noticed watching as well. Morocco is very dangerous in wide areas, but it was the fact that they were very limited in the midfield with just Gravenberch and de Jong that really affected the way that the game was played. They weren't combative. They were unwilling and unable to engage, and they were outnumbered from time to time. What does this matter? Just hearing from Jesse Marsch in KJ's piece right there. Jesse's right. They alter the way that they attack. They alter the way that they press. But as long as it's Jonathan David plus another striker in that starting 11, they're playing with 2 attackers and two central midfielders. Like, Jonathan David isn't a central midfielder, and it frustrates me to no end how far he drops deep at times to attempt to play that role. But that's not the role that he plays best. And I think that there's been a lot of talk right here in the last few days about whether Canada moves to 5 at the back, even though we've never seen Jesse Marsch play with 5 at the back, with the exception of very late in games trying to hold on or preserve a result. I think that's the wrong conversation to have. I think de Jong hits the nail on the head here. I think that you need to meet this challenge by bolstering the midfield. I think that you need 3 men in the midfield. The problem is Jesse Marsch has failed to do that not even willing to experiment over his time with Canada as well. So I'm not sure what to expect from a group if they make an alteration like that, how it will play out and what it will look like, because quite frankly, we haven't seen it. That's what was very frustrating in the preparation for this tournament, because you would love to have known maybe what Jonathan David would look like in this system as a lone striker, and what this team may look like with an additional midfielder in play, especially with Nico Seeger playing so well when he came on in the last game. So I think that De Jong is right. I hope that Jesse Marsch is listening, because if there was an alteration to make, it's not going to five at the back. Canada's strongest at their fullback positions. I'm okay with them in wide areas. It's in the midfield to control the game where they need much more. I'm not sure how you feel about that, Michael, but I'll trust when a player like De Jong comes out and says words like that. And just watching that game, he was absolutely right.
Well, funnily enough, during that game, I was messaging with another member of FIFA's technical development group that I work with. And his note back to me was, "Hey, Michael, if you see any Dutch midfielders, can you tell me where they are? Because I can't find them." So that plays right into what you're saying. Again, I go back to that first question we talked about. This is where I see the defining moment. The defining moment is, what is that adaptation? Is there flexibility? Have they been working on things that we don't know about? And that happens. That you don't get all of the information, and they want to keep it from the public's eye as they prepare. In terms of how they're going to go apply themselves, as you look at midfield versus the wide areas, you mentioned it was that they like their numbers up in the wide areas, and the key to that scenario is not the first or the second player. It's how you control the third player, right? And that's where this additional midfield person comes into it, is how do you deal with it? Because if you watch Morocco, they are very confident and very comfortable manipulating the ball, and then it's that third man running into the gaps or in behind, and you saw how many times they went in behind. When you look at the data, if you want to look for some evidence of it, it was vastly outnumbered anything that the Dutch were going to do, and it probably leads the tournament. So in terms of that, it's about denying that service from the midfield scenario, and you're only going to be able to do that with some form of overload. And then that same player can go out and help in the wide areas, because I agree with you. I'm not worried about our 1v1 scenarios in the wide areas. I'm worried about the 3v2 scenarios. And so that is where the problems are going to come. And so they need to bolster that area of the pitch. And quite frankly, that will come with an additional person in midfield. But again, I'm not convinced that Jesse is going to do anything different. Maybe his pitch allocation of where he sets up in a block situation might be different, but I just get a very funny feeling he's just going to go play how he wanted to play, and believes fully in the players and in the way that they apply themselves in the DNA that they talk about.
You have that feeling, Michael, because that is what he has done. That has set the precedent. But we will have our answer on July 4th when Canada takes on Morocco. Round of 16. That will go 1 p.m. Eastern time. We will have a show following that at 5 p.m. to break it all down. Well, other knockout games being played this week has Portugal facing Croatia. That is in Toronto, and the fans were out in full force to welcome their national team, and everyone hoping to get a glimpse of Cristiano Ronaldo. Oliver Platt got that glimpse. We'll catch up with him next on Bet365 for the win.
For the Win on One Soccer is presented by Bet365.
The game isn't over yet, but Gary just got paid with Bet365's early payout when his team went up 2 goals. Now, Gary can't stop celebrating. And honestly, we're not even sure he knows how.
Or forever hold it.
Download the Bet365 app and get paid out early when your team goes up 2 goals.
Oh, what a move. That is a quality ball. Now the run into the box.
We were there for your first game together. The day you taught him the rules and the answer for every question. We've been there for the good times and a few moments we don't talk about. And now?
Who won the most Canadian Classics?
It's a passion you can share. And we're just happy we could be there. 20 years, and we're still growing. Together.
For the Win on One Soccer is presented by bet365.
Well, what a treat it was for Portuguese fans in Toronto to see their national team arrive in the city. They haven't played here since 1995, and Cristiano Ronaldo was last year in 2009 with Real Madrid playing a friendly against Toronto FC. So yes, they were greeted to a lot of fans excited to see them. Vitinha was asked that question about the fan support in the T-Dot.
It's always a great pleasure to see the warm welcoming that Portuguese immigrants have when we get to the country, in Canada, in Switzerland, in Luxembourg, everywhere, in the United States, where we landed as well. So really glad to watch that all the time. And I really like to thank them and to ask them to support tomorrow. It will be important for them as well, for us as well. And yeah, it's incredible the amount of support we have all over the world. Here in Canada, once again, I don't know for how long Portugal didn't play in here. I don't know how many years, but surely it was a lot, and I know it means a lot for them to have the national team in here. So we're going to do everything in our power to make them proud.
Well, let's go live now to Centennial Park, where the team is practicing. Oliver Platt is there. This is powered by General Mills. And Ollie, if you allow me just a second here, a little shameless plug. See, there's my book, but I want you to see this title here. They weren't supposed to know about the hotel. That was back in 2009 when I covered Real Madrid playing Toronto FC. They kept the hotel a secret so they wouldn't have all these fans show up to basically bombard Ronaldo. But there was a mole, Ollie. There was a snitch. They ended up saying what hotel they'd be staying at, and it was complete mayhem, chaos. Security was not expecting that. And it was actually pretty scary. Cristiano Ronaldo, I'll give him credit. He remained composed, and he was actually very gracious with fans. What has the reception been like this time around that you've seen?
Well, there's no lack of security or police this time. I can tell you that. So they're safe in there. But it's been the kind of reception that we haven't seen yet in Toronto at this World Cup. And we've seen some brilliant fan bases, including Croatia, Portugal's opponent in this game, but this has been on a different level. Fans at the airport, fans on and above highways, just trying to get a glimpse of the bus. Hundreds of fans here at Centennial Park just to see Cristiano Ronaldo at training. It's been something else. And look, it's about the pride of the Portuguese fans here in Toronto. That's obviously a big part of it, but that's been present for all the other teams that are here as well. I think there's a different aspect to this as well, and you see how young some of the fans are here. It's celebrity. It's Cristiano Ronaldo. It's the status of this guy. There's a handful of people on planet Earth, I think you can say fairly, that have as much kind of stature and recognition and are as famous, quite frankly, as Cristiano Ronaldo is. So, yeah, it was something I've never seen before here in Toronto for any player, except obviously his counterpart Lionel Messi, in terms of the reception that he and the Portugal team got.
For sure. All right, so we just saw Vitinha there. Obviously, he's acknowledging that fan support, but I'm wondering overall, what was the tone of Portugal's press conference?
I would say almost outright hostile, particularly the section with Roberto Martinez. Vitinha, he didn't have too many problems. He had to answer a few difficult questions. He was asked about his own form and whether it had been a bit underwhelming in the first few games, but he was very impressive. He answered questions in 4 different languages. Martinez got a much tougher test in terms of the questions he was receiving. You know, this team is not playing particularly well at this World Cup. Martinez kept repeating that the second World Cup starts now. He kind of separates the group stage from the knockout here, but it kind of felt like someone who knows his team hasn't been very good and is saying, well, don't worry too much about that, guys, because now the real tournament starts and our real performances start with it. I just don't think there's much confidence or much faith in Portugal, and you could tell from the tone of some of the Portuguese journalists asking the questions that that is actually going to be the case, and that Portugal are going to suddenly flick a switch here and be a much better team than they have been in the group stage. So yeah, he had a bit of an exchange with one journalist back and forth at one point that was pretty tense, and that tells you, I think, about how they're going into the knockout stage.
All right, well, let's as we take a look at that game here, who are you choosing for your Tellus player to watch?
No prizes for guessing this one. It has to be the man that I think a lot of people here tonight were here to see, Cristiano Ronaldo. And Martinez, the first question he got included a question about whether or not Ronaldo could be dropped to the bench for this one. That obviously happened at the first knockout game of the last World Cup, and Portugal went on to beat Switzerland 6-1. I think there's almost zero chance of it happening here. Martinez has never shown any kind of inclination to do that. And there is going to be, as there always is, a massive spotlight on him. There's no questioning his greatness, his career. There's no questioning his motivation to still be here. He's the first player out at training, leading the team in the warm-ups. But there is questioning his form right now. I don't think there's any way around that. Colombia was really difficult for the team, but also for Ronaldo individually. And it's now 3 goals in his last 14 tournament games, 2 against Uzbekistan and a penalty against Ghana at the last World Cup. That is not the kind of performance that obviously is going to get people off Cristiano Ronaldo's back and asking questions about his place in this Portugal team.
Yeah, when you look back at the last World Cup and you know, not starting, that was under a different manager as well. To your point, the indication here during the group stage, he's the only one that's played the entire time. So Roberto Martinez is definitely relying on Ronaldo. Their opponent, Croatia, what's on the line for them tomorrow?
Well, I think whenever this tournament ends for Croatia, like with Portugal, it's the end of an era. You're going to see their great player in Luka Modric obviously walk away from the international game, and one of them is going to play their last World Cup game tomorrow. So the stakes are huge there. I'm surprised Croatia are as big underdogs as they are. I looked at the odds earlier today. You can get, it's a shorter price for Canada to beat Morocco in 90 minutes than it is for Croatia to beat Portugal, which surprised me, given obviously Croatia's accomplishments at the past 2 World Cups. I think that probably says something about the way in which Croatia tend to go through tournaments. They go to extra time and penalties a lot. They don't often actually win games in 90 minutes. And also about the conditions that we're going to face here, right? It's going to be 35 degrees in Toronto tomorrow, as it was today. This game has extra time written all over it. I think you've got 2 teams that want to have the ball, want to, you know, slow the game down at times, control things. It's going to be, I think, a close game, I would expect at least, and very difficult to find a big difference between these 2 teams. So maybe that's more a reflection of the, you know, the sports books aren't expecting the game to be won in 90 minutes rather than seeing Croatia as quite that big underdogs. But that surprised me, and I think that will be plenty of fuel for them to show that they're still the team they were in the past 2 tournaments.
Tomorrow is going to be a game that is a great example of hydration breaks being needed. That is for sure. You've been outside all day. You need to go hydrate. We'll talk to you later, Oliver Platt. Well, let's take you to today's round of 32 matches. You had England versus DR Congo, and Congo scoring in the 7th minute. What a dream start. And the star for them was their goalkeeper. That seems to be the case with the Minnows. The keeper becomes the hero, and Passy facing 16 shots, 8 on target. But Harry Kane proved to be too much to handle. A brace in the 75th and 86th minute. So Wheels, England moves on.
It was a brilliant watch. The early goal set the game up beautifully. England were under pressure. I was joking around about it. It was a brilliant 4th quarter by the English after the final hydration break. But it went to prove something I've been saying all season long. Harry Kane is the best player in the world today. He scored 61 goals in 51 games for Bayern Munich in all competitions. He's now scored 5 in this competition. And the manner by which he scored the game winner, like very few players can do that. He is sensational. Look, Thomas Tuchel needs to get his wing players right. Needs to be much better. Rashford and Madueke are not going to cut it. There's some work to do, but as long as Kane is fit and firing, England have a chance. Next up, Mexico in Guadalajara. Wow, that's going to be must-see TV.
Well, we thought we were going to see an update here with Senegal over Belgium because Belgium had their hands full. 24th and 51st minute goals made things look very comfortable for the African side. But wait, the man who cannot stop scoring for his country is Romelu Lukaku, who gets his 52nd goal in his 55th appearance. The last 55 games he's played for Belgium, he has scored 52 times, that one coming in the 86th minute. They score again, 89th. This one went extra time. And as we know, Belgium gets the penalty, 120th plus 5-minute wheels. That's heartbreaking for Senegal.
And now they get the United States in Seattle, so they get to stay where they are for the next game in the round of 16. Belgium were poor for long stretches of this game. Senegal completely let them off the hook. I was almost sick to my stomach for Senegal. It's a travesty that they lost this game. It was like 3 minutes of madness. 2-2 went to extra time, and a little bit of a controversial penalty with Kamara taking down Tielemans. He steps up and scores the penalty for his brace. Look, I think the threshold for what is a penalty has been rather high in this tournament, whether it's contact or slight contact. The penalty always hasn't been given, especially when the referee doesn't give it on the field. But VAR deemed Kamara to have fouled Tielemans. I think it could have gone either way. If I'm the referee, I just would have kept my decision on the field. Although if he originally made the decision as a penalty on the field, I would have been okay with that either. It's such a harsh way for Senegal to go out. And I just think that they're unfortunate, and Belgium very lucky to be moving on here. By the way,
that was chaos.
We're taking out an hour into this game. Rudy Garcia needs to chop and change and figure out what his best team is for next week.
That's my point. It was chaos, and we couldn't look away. Michael Finley will rejoin us here on Bet365 for the win. We continue to look at Canada and their preparation for Morocco, and then we're also going to talk penalty kicks. Stay with us.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by General Mills. For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Turkey Farmers of Canada.
In Canada, our future stars don't simply show up on the world stage. They are built from the ground up, right here in the heart of our communities.
Come on. Oh, lovely through ball there, Isaiah Johnson! Goal for Halifax!
From a childhood dream to the national team.
Jacob Scheffel, good! Yes! He's done it! Canada on top of the footballing world!
We are Canada, driven by Volkswagen.
And for Canada, BMO.
After 20 years of supporting the game, we're actually going to play in one. Let's go! So what do you need? Precision striker, rock solid left back?
We need a coin.
For the coin toss? Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I get it. Can I at least flip it? Heads or tails? I'll do that. We're on TV right now. Yeah.
Hey neighbor, meet Walmart Plus, the new membership that does delivery differently. I'm talking unlimited free same-day delivery, free shipping, and no order minimum. And it comes with a Crave subscription too. Yeah, it's like a 2-for-1. Try it free for 30 days. Walmart Plus.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Samsung.
This is Our House, presented by Samsung. This is our show. Andy Petrillo, Garrett Wheeler, Michael Finley here on Canada's birthday. And why don't we get in a little bit more about Canada? We've kind of been talking about maybe some of the tactics or changes you would like to see Jesse Marsch make as they get set for the round of 16 match Saturday against Morocco. The two of you seem to be in compliance here with you want to bolster perhaps that midfield. So, Michael, I'm curious, if you do that, who are maybe the players you want to put in that midfield? Who are you actually looking at to be there?
Yeah, I mean, I think if they're gonna change that shape and add the extra one in midfield, I mean, you've got to start talking about, Nico coming in and getting a longer run, in my opinion, and seeing what he can do in that situation. And I wouldn't also turn away from Oso. I mean, experience, someone who's been there before, someone who can retain the ball when we do get it, because we know we're not going to see a lot of it. And when we get it, we've got to have a good sense of urgency to go forward, but we also have to know that at some point in time, we're going to have to rest in possession. So in that midfield role, those are the two that I would look at. I think Ali should come back into the team in the wide area. And I think there is thought on the other side where Tejan is, we need someone who can stretch the team at some point in time. We need to keep Morocco honest. And if we do sit a little bit lower and we do get that opportunity in some form of transition or counter, we're going to have people who have wheels and have space and have pace and are able to stretch teams. So there's a thought to be given on the other side of playing someone who can do that. And then you need to have those players be able to work together with that third midfielder in terms of, as we said earlier, their defensive responsibilities. But the ones I'm looking at are Nico coming back in the team, potentially Oso, and I think Ali should be back in the team.
Interesting. Tejan, I really considered that as well, because this has not been the best stretch of games for Tejan Buchanan as a member of Canada. If Alphonso Davies was healthy, if he was fit, if he could play anywhere close to 90 minutes, I'd put him on left back, and I'd probably put Richie Larea up on that right-hand side in front of Alistair Johnston to bolster for this game. But Davies just, we have no indication that he's there right now. So yeah. I'll leave Tejan alone, because he is one of the few difference makers or potential difference makers in this Canada team. For me, for this game, if I'm Jesse Marsch, I make 3 changes, and I'll be very clear on them. Starting at the back, I bring back in Luc de Fougerolles. Look, Moise Bombito, it was great that he got through 58 minutes, but he was rarely tested, maybe once or twice in the game. I mean, this is going to be high intensity. His fitness needs to be there. He's now played 90 minutes since October 7th. I'm not sure if that breeds confidence into the group. I know that he's well-liked and he's a top player when fit, but de Fougerolles hasn't done anything wrong for me in this tournament, and I'll take what I know over the question mark at this point. Also, I mean, if this game somehow goes to penalties, that would be a win for Canada. That'd be a really good scenario. And there's no chance I want to have Luc de Fougerolles on the field in a position to take any kind of penalties, even if it goes to extra penalties. I've been there, done that. I've seen it. I do not want to see it again. So I'd rather bring Moise off the bench if required. It, like Michael in the central midfield, I add a player, but that's at the expense of a striker. I push Jonathan David up as a lone striker, and I bring a Nico. I'm fine with an Oso too. I just question a little bit whether Osorio can keep up to what the pace of the game will actually be. And I take out the striker. So I take out Olo Ashei, Laren, Promise David. They're all on the bench, and they'll be used if required. You need that extra midfielder. And it's about role definition. I want Eusakio playing behind DeSigur and a Saliba, who will have much more legs. There'll be a little bit of a gap, but I think that Saliba has the legs to make up that space and fill that gap. And like Michael, I replace Liam Miller with Ali Ahmed. I was surprised that Ahmed didn't see the field last game, but it was a game that you were more on the attack. You maybe needed a player that was a little bit more technical, but Ali's so good pressing, getting involved, being a pest, being physical, but also being productive in the attacking third when necessary as well. So those three changes, I think, put Canada in the best position possible to go into this game and give themselves a real chance.
You had mentioned penalties there, Wheels, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that because there are reports coming out of Germany now that the German players did not want to be that sixth player to take the pen. They were all kind of doing the you know, that seems to be the report there. What do you make of that? Are you surprised to hear that, just given how strong Germany is, how well they've done in penalties, you know, in the past as well, but yet there just seemed to, nobody wanted to step up to the challenge because of the pressure?
When this happens, I don't blame the players, to be honest with you. I blame the manager. This should have been communicated well ahead of time and putting players in a position where they understand their role. For me, Julian Nagelsmann completely butchered his substitution patterns, leading to the penalties. But Germany were in control of the game, and still you have players like Anton and much more defensive-minded players, and you didn't have attacking players who were capable of taking penalties. There was 3 attacking changes, all like for like, and you left attacking players on the bench who probably would have been more suited towards taking a penalty. So I blame the manager. I think the same scenario goes to Ronald Koeman. I just don't think that they had enough players who are really good in terms of penalty takers able to step up and take one. So part of the preparation for managers, and Michael can speak to this more, if you're in a position where penalties are looming, you need to make sure that your best penalty takers, or a number of them, more than 5 are on the field, that you have confidence in, that can go out and take them. And I just don't think the Netherlands or the Germans handled the situation in the build up to the penalties anywhere near enough.
Yeah, Michael, take it away, because it sounds like as the coach, right, you do have to look ahead 2-3 steps ahead here and prepare for the fact that this is either going to go to extra time or it's going to go to pens. And how do you prepare for penalties?
Well, there's a couple of things, and I hate to say this, but I'm agreeing with Gareth again, and I'm
okay.
I'm having trouble.
Then I'm right, Michael. I'm right.
I'm having trouble with this, people. No.
It's very hot outside. Maybe you have some heat stroke.
That's a good reason. No, Gareth is right about from the exterior point of view, watching, it looked like there was not a plan, right? And so that troubled me as a coach. Coaches have a number of different ways of prepping for knockout phase type activities. I will tell you this. And you'll probably get slammed on the internet or whatever. I have never practiced PKs with players as a group. And the reason being is I firmly believe that you cannot replicate the atmosphere that the penalty has been taken in. What you do is you provide them the opportunity as a group that you have selected to make their own decisions in whenever they want to do that. But in terms of gathering the right players together, from my perspective, is that has to be established prior to the game, subject to an injury or subject to something that was unexpected. And they are put in the appropriate positions, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. After that, you're starting to go down the list. And what I find interesting is how teams have so many different ways of applying them. Do you put the best penalty taker first, last, in the middle, whatever? So everyone has their own way. But one thing for sure is, I will say, I do not believe you can replicate the atmosphere that those players, for example, in Monterrey had the other night. You just can't. So you're not dealing with them in terms of, okay, let's go and train penalties. You're going to train what their decision making is. Do not change your mind. Stay to the program. The one who's really trained well is the goalkeeper, because the goalkeeper themselves isn't really expected to save these penalties. If you can get one out of them, you're going to do well. And that's why keepers today, you see a lot of them using their water bottles and seeing how players have taken penalties. So their process is much more in depth in preparation than the actual players taking them.
Very interesting, because we went through this too with other coaches in the past, and they have like the analytics on all of this of like how long to wait after a whistle goes, your breathing, your stance, all of that matters. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, you would know best, right? Obviously, if a lot of players and goalkeepers benefit
Not
from
necessarily.
practice. Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Well, to each their own. Let's put it this way, to each their own. The Canadian Championship quarterfinal begins July 8th. There's a look at the matchups. Always fun when the national crown is on the line, when you get to see the semi-pro teams going up against the pro teams, CPL versus MLS. And I want to know, Michael, what do you love about the Canadian Championship, and what do you find most intriguing how the tournament has actually grown over the years as well?
I love this tournament. I love this competition. This is exactly what football needs in Canada. It's exciting. It brings cup play mentality, which is an equalizer. It can be a one-off or two legs. It's still an equalizer. This is what the country needs. They need this type of competition. You need your local clubs, building an infrastructure and a fan base. So I love this competition. I think it's one of the best things that has happened to Canadian football. It gives us credibility as it relates to qualification for CONCACAF. It gives us credibility in terms of being like other football nations. And my pick in the games to watch this weekend is CS St. Laurent against Forge, because that's the type of competition you want to see. Those League One teams pushing up against professional clubs. So that's my call.
Okay.
My
Which
call for the
matchup
game
in
that I want to
particular?
watch is because there's an element of it unknown with this World Cup break. It's the Whitecaps and Cavalry. Like Cavalry weren't playing in the CONCACAF Champions Cup last season. I think it hurt that club. Tommy Wilden Jr., that's in this group, they want to make noise in this competition. And what are the Whitecaps going to look like coming out of this break? Like, they are one of, if not the best team in Major League Soccer. But when you have this length of period off, is it going to be rust, or is the rest going to pay off? Berhalter's at the World Cup. He could be a big miss. He could actually be moving on as well. And perhaps there might be some other changes that are about to take place now that the transfer window is opening up here in the month of July. So I do think there's a level of unknown, and the fact that these are home and aways add to the intrigue as well. I like that part of the competition this year. So I, for one, love agreeing with Michael Finley. I don't hate it. I love it. So well said. I love this tournament.
No, it is great. And, I love the stories that come out of it too, because it gives opportunities to some players to be seen in a level of play that they don't usually get to play in, which tells us more about our overall development. You look at the players that are playing even in the World Cup with Canada. There's players in that squad who have played in League One, who have played in the CPL, who have played in the
Alistair Johnston played for Vaughan or Aurora in the Can Champ.
I can't tell you how important this type of competition is to our future pathway for the players, and the emulation factor of who do I want to be like. And so great competition.
Well, tune back in. TELUS Canadian Championship quarterfinals, leg 1, July 8th, right here on One Soccer. Michael Finley, always a pleasure having you on the show. Joining us here, Bet365 for the win. But before we let you go, you got to rely on wheels. Maybe you guys have been making some money. Parlay of the day. Take a look at that and some of the matches happening tomorrow. Stay with us here on the show.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by General Mills. For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Turkey Farmers of Canada.
We were there for your first game together. The day you taught him the rules. And the answer for every question. We've been there for the good times and a few moments we don't talk about. And now,
who won the most Canadian Classics?
it's a passion you can share. And we're just happy we could be there. 20 years, and we're still growing. Together.
Hey neighbor, meet Walmart Plus, the new membership that does delivery differently. I'm talking unlimited free same-day delivery, free shipping, and no order minimum. And it comes with a Crave subscription too. Yeah, it's like a 2-for-1. Try it free for 30 days. Walmart Plus.
Canada are really pressing here. Oh, what a move. That is a quality ball. Now the run into the box.
It.
A player Mike bet on just missed an open net tap-in and got subbed off.
I could have scored that in jeans.
Mike doesn't know it yet, but thanks to Bet365's sub-on play-on,
the net was wide open.
His prop bet rolls up coming on. So if the sub scores, Mike still wins.
False alarm, people. My bet's still good.
If your player gets subbed, your bet plays on.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Samsung.
I always look forward to the bet of the day. Wheels, take us through it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Andy. I appreciate that. Let's make some money. Parlay of the day, Spain, Austria over 2.5 goals. Ralph Rangnick's Austria like to push and press. I think there's goals naturally that come from that, especially playing against a talented side like Spain. So go with the over. Portugal, -2 in the corner kick spread. I think they're going to take the game to Croatia. I think they can expose them in attack, and it's going to be a lot of one-way traffic at Toronto Stadium. So I like that in Portugal's favor at +110. Switzerland, Algeria, both teams to score. Yes, in this game. Switzerland struggles keeping clean sheets. They haven't had a clean sheet in their last 5 games. Both these scorers played in 5 of 5. Algeria doesn't have a clean sheet yet at this tournament either. And both have very good expected goals numbers so far in this tournament. So both teams to score, yes. -110. Combine those three. A nice little, well, big number at +622.
Okay, great stuff when it comes to the parlay of the day. But I want to know who you're picking to win. So between Spain and Austria, who do you have?
I mean, Spain is a huge favorite, but they haven't hit the ground running yet, have they? Like, they need to get it on track. Austria are a difficult team to play against. That style of play, it's relentless. I believe that they're going to be playing inside a weather-controlled stadium, which will certainly help them. And they played some decent teams as far, not to mention that being Argentina against the Lionel Messi show. So I think that a lot of it relies on the status, the health, and the play and productivity of Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams. If they're still not fully fit, if they're still not playing to their ability, I think that could open the door for a very tightly contested matchup.
One that's got a lot of people excited to watch is Portugal, Croatia. Where are you going with that one?
The true winners are going to be the people of Toronto that are going to be able to witness this match, the Croatian community, the Portuguese community, and CR7, see you in the house. Look, I think Croatia, I think they're more like the team that got played off the park for long stretches against England in their opening match than what we saw in their next 2. I think that they might be coming back down to earth a little bit. Portugal started this tournament slow, but they played a very good Colombia team in their second game. I think Portugal is the superior side. I think that Portugal win this game perhaps by a few goals.
Does Ronaldo score?
I know the people of Toronto hope that he does. He's not the main focal point for me. The best player on the field is Bruno Fernandes. So I cannot wait to see him play in the flesh once again, because he's just, his distribution, on the ball distribution is second to none.
All right, one more quick one. Switzerland, Algeria.
Well, this should have been, coulda, woulda, the Canadian game. I mean, it's being played in Vancouver. Switzerland potentially gets to call Canada home. Algeria has some very good young attacking players, and they probably are better in attack than they are defensively. They're a little bit all over the place. The former Swiss manager Petkovic is actually the manager of Algeria now. I think there's goals in this fixture, but I'll side with Switzerland. Like, Canada's group wasn't very good. I kind of feel like Switzerland haven't got out of second gear yet. And when they do, they're going to be a very difficult team to beat. So I'm backing the Swiss to win in Vancouver on Thursday.
Well, round of 32 continues tomorrow. We just took you through those 3 matches. On behalf of Gareth Wheeler, Michael Finley, and the rest of the One Soccer crew, I'm Annie Petrillo. Thanks for tuning in to Bet365 for the win. We'll see you next time.
Welcome to the Sit Down presented by Visa, and I have 2 special guests for you today. The 2 greatest goal scorers for this team in the history of the Canadian men's national team, Kyle Larin, Jonathan David. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with me.